In the silence of solitude, the noise of the world fades and the voice within begins to speak. Most people are so occupied with external stimulation, social approval, endless conversations, or the distractions of technology, that they forget to listen to themselves. But when you choose to spend time alone, without distraction, you create space for your inner truth to surface. It is in that stillness that you begin to recognize what you truly feel, what you truly desire, and what path resonates with your heart. Solitude does not change who you are. It only reveals who you already were beneath the layers of noise. When you sit with yourself long enough, clarity begins to replace confusion, and truth begins to replace illusion. To fear solitude is to fear the discovery of self, but to embrace it is to open the door to your deepest wisdom. When you allow solitude into your life, it acts like a mirror. Just as a mirror reflects your outer appearance, solitude reflects your inner state. You may discover fears, doubts, or unhealed wounds. At first, this reflection can be uncomfortable because it reveals truths that you have long avoided. Yet, this discomfort is not your enemy. It is your teacher. Every insight that solitude brings, no matter how heavy, is a step toward freedom. When you face your thoughts without running away, you begin to take ownership of your life. The mind no longer hides behind distractions, and the heart no longer disguises its longing. Through solitude, you learn to embrace both your light and your shadow. It is only when you see yourself fully that you can grow into authenticity. Solitude is not meant to isolate you from life, but to bring you closer to who you really are. The world often teaches us to seek answers outside ourselves, in teachers, books, or the opinions of others. While guidance can be valuable, the deepest answers are not found in noise but in stillness. Solitude becomes the fertile ground where true wisdom emerges. It is in those quiet hours of reflection that sudden clarity arrives. You realize which relationships truly matter, which dreams are genuinely yours, and which choices align with your purpose. Without solitude, it is easy to confuse the voices of others with your own, living a life shaped by expectations instead of authenticity. But when you withdraw into silence, the fog lifts, your inner compass becomes visible. Solitude does not give you answers, it simply clears the space so that the answers already within you can rise to the surface. That is why those who embrace solitude often walk with unshakable clarity and peace. Many people fear that solitude will make them feel empty. In truth, it is not solitude that creates emptiness, it is distraction. When you are constantly surrounded by noise, you suppress your real emotions, and that suppression eventually leads to a sense of void. Solitude, on the other hand, gives you the courage to face what is hidden. It allows you to sit with your thoughts, even the uncomfortable ones, until understanding replaces fear. What you once perceived as emptiness is actually space, space to breathe, space to think, and space to connect with yourself. This space is sacred. It is in this openness that creativity is born, ideas flow, and solutions appear. Solitude is not about being cut off from life. It is about giving yourself the room to feel alive. The truth of your being does not emerge through constant distraction, but through the stillness of presence. When you spend time in solitude, you begin to notice the difference between the mind's chatter and the heart's voice. The mind is restless, always chasing the past or the future. It fills your head with doubts, comparisons, and fears. But the heart speaks differently. Its voice is calm, steady, and timeless. In solitude, you learn to distinguish between the two. You realize that the heart's truth does not argue, it simply knows. It guides you toward what nourishes your spirit and away from what drains it. This recognition is one of the greatest gifts of solitude. Without time alone, the heart's voice is drowned by noise, making it easy to live disconnected from your own essence. But when you allow space for solitude, the heart rises to the surface, and you begin to live not from fear, but from truth. That is the power of inner listening. True solitude is not about escaping the world, It is about returning to yourself. It is a practice of removing external influences long enough to recognize what belongs to you and what does not. Much of what we carry, opinions, habits, even desires, are borrowed from society, family, or culture. In solitude, these layers begin to peel away, leaving behind only what is authentic. This process can feel like a shedding of old skin. At times it may feel vulnerable or unsettling, but it is also liberating. Each moment of honest reflection frees you from illusions and brings you closer to your essence. You begin to realize that your worth does not depend on the roles you play or the approval you receive. It comes from within. Solitude, therefore, is not a withdrawal from life, but an awakening to your truest life. It reveals not who others expect you to be, but who you really are. In solitude, time itself feels different. The rush and urgency of daily life soften, and you begin to experience moments more deeply. Without distractions, even simple acts, breathing, observing nature, reflecting on your thoughts, gain profound meaning. This slowing down allows you to connect with the eternal aspect of your being, the part untouched by external circumstances. In this space, you are not defined by your achievements, possessions, or status. You are simply present. This presence is your inner truth, a state where you realize that who you are is not dependent on what you do, but on your awareness of being itself. Such realization can transform your perspective entirely. Instead of chasing validation, you begin to live with authenticity. Solitude thus teaches you to shift from doing to being, from seeking outside to recognizing what has always been inside. Those who cultivate solitude often develop a quiet confidence that cannot be shaken by the world. This confidence is not loud or boastful. It is rooted in self-knowing. When you truly know yourself, criticism loses its sting, comparison loses its power, and fear loses its grip. Solitude provides the environment for this self-knowing to blossom. By spending time alone, you become intimate with your strengths and your weaknesses, your values and your boundaries. This intimacy with self builds unshakable stability. Others may misunderstand you, but you no longer feel the need to constantly explain yourself because you understand yourself. That is the power of inner truth. It grounds you in a way that no external force can. Through solitude, you carry a sense of centeredness that stays with you, no matter the noise or chaos outside. Another gift of solitude is the way it nurtures creativity. Great ideas rarely come in the midst of chaos, they arrive in moments of silence. When the mind is not occupied with external demands, it becomes free to wander, to imagine, and to create. In solitude, you gain access to the deeper layers of your mind where inspiration dwells. This is why many artists, thinkers, and leaders throughout history sought solitude. They understood its power to reveal insights that cannot be forced. Creativity is not something you chase, it is something you allow. Solitude creates the conditions for this natural unfolding. But beyond artistic expression, creativity in solitude also helps you reimagine your life, to see new possibilities and solutions. Solitude, therefore, is not only a path to truth but also a wellspring of vision and innovation. Ultimately, solitude reveals that you are already complete. In the stillness, you realize that you do not need constant validation, endless company, or external achievements to feel whole. You already carry everything you seek within you: peace, strength, and wisdom. The role of solitude is simply to strip away the distractions that hide this truth. Once you recognize it, life changes. Relationships become choices, not dependencies. Success becomes expression, not validation. And peace becomes your natural state, not a pursuit. This is the greatest revelation solitude can offer, that your truth has always been with you, waiting in the silence. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you discover that solitude is not loneliness. It is the meeting point with your highest self. And in that meeting, you find freedom. Being alone is often misunderstood as weakness, but in reality, it is a profound strength. To willingly sit with yourself, without distraction or escape, requires courage. In solitude, You no longer have the safety net of external validation or the comfort of constant company. You only have yourself, and it is precisely in this environment that the spirit learns resilience. Alone, you discover that your worth is not tied to how others see you, but to how deeply you know and accept yourself. Being alone strips away illusions and forces you to rely on your own inner foundation. This process, though sometimes challenging, is transformative. Each moment of solitude adds weight to the muscle of your spirit, making you stronger, steadier, and less dependent on circumstances. True strength is not about dominating others, but about mastering yourself, and being alone provides the arena for this mastery to unfold. In the stillness of being alone, the spirit learns endurance. Life inevitably brings trials, moments of loss, uncertainty, or rejection. If your strength depends only on others, these trials will shatter you. But if you have trained your spirit in solitude, you discover an inner anchor that keeps you steady even in storms. Alone, you learn to process emotions without drowning in them, to face fear without running, and to stand firm even when no one else is there to hold you. This endurance is not built overnight. It comes through repeated encounters with solitude. Each time you resist the urge to escape yourself, your spirit grows tougher and more resilient. Loneliness weakens, but chosen aloneness strengthens. The difference lies in perspective. Loneliness is a void, but solitude is training. Through solitude, your spirit learns to endure not just survival, but to thrive with clarity and peace. Being alone also strengthens the spirit by teaching independence. Most people live in constant reliance on external sources for happiness, direction, or approval. While community and support are valuable, overdependence leaves the spirit fragile. Solitude trains you to stand on your own. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you no longer fear silence or absence. You become your own source of encouragement, your own wellspring of peace. This independence is not isolation, it is empowerment. It means that whether people come or go, whether circumstances rise or fall, your stability remains. Alone, you realize that your spirit is capable of carrying itself without being carried. This realization transforms fear into freedom. The spirit grows strong not when it clings to others, but when it discovers its ability to walk independently. Such strength does not reject others. It simply does not collapse without them. Spending time alone also reveals the strength hidden in vulnerability. At first, being alone may bring discomfort. Old wounds, unprocessed memories, or insecurities rise to the surface when the noise of distraction is gone. But instead of weakening you, facing these truths strengthens your spirit. Each time you acknowledge pain rather than hide from it, you grow braver. Each time you sit with discomfort rather than fleeing, your spirit hardens in resilience. Vulnerability becomes a tool for transformation. Alone, you cannot pretend to be someone else. You meet yourself as you truly are, and in that honest meeting, healing begins. This healing is the foundation of spiritual strength, because a spirit that has faced its wounds cannot be easily broken. Being alone teaches you that vulnerability is not weakness. It is the raw material from which strength is forged. Through it, your spirit becomes unshakable. The spirit also strengthens in solitude through discipline. When you are with others, it is easy to lose yourself in their pace, their habits, and their distractions. Alone, you must set your own rhythm. You learn the value of structure, routine, and intentional living. Discipline may seem restrictive at first, but in truth, it liberates. Alone, discipline becomes your companion. It teaches you consistency, self-control, and focus. The ability to wake up with purpose, to use your time wisely, and to train both body and mind without external pressure is a mark of strength. Solitude strips away excuses and exposes your true willpower. Every small act of discipline done in solitude is like sharpening a blade. The more you train, the stronger your spirit becomes. This inner strength carries into all areas of life, for a disciplined spirit cannot be easily swayed or defeated. Another way solitude strengthens the spirit is by cultivating clarity. In the company of others, your thoughts are often scattered by external voices, opinions, and expectations. Alone, the fog clears. The spirit learns to discern what truly matters and what does not. This clarity is powerful. It protects you from being manipulated, distracted, or misled. A strong spirit is not one that blindly follows, but one that knows its direction. Being alone allows you to strip away borrowed beliefs and discover convictions that are genuinely your own. Once clarity takes root, decision-making becomes easier. Doubt loses its grip because you know the path you walk is authentically yours. Clarity is not found in endless noise, it is born in silence. And the spirit that walks with clarity is unmovable because it is aligned with truth. Solitude sharpens this alignment, forging a spirit that sees with clear eyes. The strength built in solitude is also spiritual freedom. Many people feel trapped by the fear of being left out, abandoned, or overlooked. This fear keeps their spirit enslaved to external validation. But when you enjoy being alone, this chain breaks. You realize that you do not need constant company to feel alive. Your happiness no longer depends on whether others accept or reject you. This freedom is strength because it means no one holds control over your inner peace. A spirit that finds joy in solitude cannot be manipulated by loneliness. Instead, it moves through relationships with freedom, giving without clinging, receiving without dependency. Solitude liberates you from the prison of needing approval, and in that liberation, your spirit becomes fearless. A fearless spirit is a strong spirit, for it stands complete in itself, unbound by external conditions. Solitude also strengthens the spirit by awakening creativity and vision. When you are alone, the mind has space to wander, to reflect, and to imagine. Inspiration often arrives in silence. Many breakthroughs in history were born not in crowded rooms, but in quiet solitude where the spirit was free to explore. Creativity is more than art, it is the ability to see possibilities where others see limitations. A spirit trained in solitude learns to innovate, to find solutions, and to envision new paths. This vision strengthens the spirit because it fosters hope and direction. Even in difficulty, a creative spirit sees opportunity. Alone, you begin to access this reservoir of imagination. Each idea born in solitude strengthens your confidence, reminding you that you already possess within you these seeds of growth. Solitude turns the spirit into perhaps the most profound strength gained from being alone is self-acceptance. The spirit weakens when it constantly fights against itself, when it hides parts of its identity to be loved by others. Alone, you cannot hide. You are faced with your flaws, your fears, and your beauty all at once. This confrontation is uncomfortable, but it leads to acceptance. When you accept yourself fully, light and shadow, your spirit becomes whole, and wholeness is strength. A spirit at war with itself is fragile. A spirit at peace with itself is unbreakable. Solitude teaches you that you do not need to change who you are to be worthy. You are enough as you are. From this place of self-acceptance, every challenge becomes easier because you no longer doubt your own value. Solitude, therefore, is not a retreat from life, it is a return to your true self. In the end, being alone strengthens the spirit by revealing that you are never truly alone. When you cultivate solitude, you discover an inner presence, a quiet energy that is always with you. Some call it consciousness, others call it spirit, but whatever the name, it is unshakable. This realization changes everything. You no longer fear isolation, because you know you carry a limitless source of strength within. Solitude has shown you that your spirit is not fragile, but eternal. And once you touch this truth, you walk through life differently. Challenges become tests, not threats. Rejections become redirections, not wounds. Silence becomes a companion, not an enemy. To embrace solitude is to awaken the warrior within, the part of you that stands firm, calm, and whole regardless of circumstances. Being alone does not weaken you, it forges you. It strengthens your spirit into something unbreakable. In a world that glorifies noise, silence is often underestimated. Yet silence is not emptiness, it is a hidden reservoir of energy. Every day, the mind is bombarded by voices, screens, and demands. This constant stimulation drains our vitality without us even noticing. Silence becomes the antidote, a space where the spirit can breathe again. When you step into silence, your thoughts settle, your emotions soften, and your energy begins to restore itself. Just as a phone needs to recharge when the battery is low, your spirit needs silence to renew its strength. Without it, exhaustion and confusion take root. But with silence, balance returns. Silence is not absence, it is presence at its deepest level. In that presence, you connect to a flow of energy far greater than any noise can provide. To understand silence is to understand the true source of inner vitality. Silence is powerful because it calms the storm of the mind. The mind is like a restless river, constantly flowing, colliding, and overflowing with thoughts. In silence, that river begins to slow. The water becomes still, and only then can it reflect clearly. This stillness is not passive, it is active energy. A calm mind conserves strength, while a restless mind wastes it. When you cultivate silence, your thoughts stop scattering in every direction, and your energy is no longer drained by endless mental chatter. You begin to focus. You begin to channel energy into what matters most. This is why silence feels so restorative. It gathers what has been scattered. With each moment of quiet, your energy is no longer leaking but concentrating. Like light turning into a laser, that is the hidden power of silence. It transforms distraction into direction and chaos into strength, noise into seductive. It tricks us into believing we are connected, productive, or entertained. But constant noise is like eating without stopping. It overloads the system. Silence, by contrast, digests experience. It allows the mind and spirit to process what has happened, to release what is unnecessary, and to store what is valuable. Without silence, your energy is clogged with unfinished emotions and unprocessed thoughts. But in silence, you release these burdens, and your inner energy begins to circulate freely again. That circulation is what gives you vitality. Think of silence as a cleansing stream that washes away mental toxins. After time in silence, you feel lighter, clearer, and more alive. Energy does not only come from food, rest, or movement. It also comes from silence. When you honor silence, you invite renewal, and your spirit becomes like a flowing river, strong and unstoppable. Silence is also deeply connected to awareness. In noise, awareness is fragmented, scattered across countless distractions. In silence, awareness sharpens. You notice the rhythm of your breath, the beating of your heart, the subtle sensations in your body. This awareness awakens energy that is usually dormant. Most people live disconnected from their own life force because they are too distracted to feel it. Silence reconnects you. It awakens you to the energy already within. Each breath becomes a source of power, each moment a chance to recharge. Silence teaches you that energy is not something you must always seek outside. It is within you, waiting for recognition. With silence, awareness and energy become one. And when awareness is awake, energy flows naturally. This is why silence is not a void. It is a bridge. It connects you back to your essence, where limitless energy resides. Silence also heals. When the body is sick, it rests. When the spirit is weary, it needs silence. Silence acts as medicine for the soul. In those quiet moments, emotional wounds begin to close, mental tension begins to loosen, and inner harmony begins to return. Healing requires energy, but healing also produces energy. Silence provides both. It is like fertile soil in which the seeds of renewal grow. Without silence, the wounds remain open, because they are drowned in noise and distraction. But in silence, you give them space to breathe, to release pain, and to restore balance. A healed spirit radiates energy, not only for itself but for others. This is why people who practice silence often carry a calm presence that uplifts those around them. Their energy is different, clean, grounded, and strong. Silence is not only self-healing, It is also energy that nourishes the world. The energy of silence is not passive, it is transformative. When you immerse yourself in silence, you tap into a creative force. Ideas that seemed hidden suddenly surface. Solutions to problems reveal themselves without effort. This happens because silence clears the clutter that blocks inspiration. Creativity requires energy, and silence provides it. Think of silence as fertile soil. The richer the soil, the stronger the roots. In silence, your mind and spirit are nourished, and creativity blossoms naturally. The energy gained in silence is not only restorative but generative. It produces new possibilities, visions, and directions. Many of history's greatest insights were born not in the noise of the crowd, but in the stillness of solitude and silence. If you seek to create, to innovate, or to bring new energy into your life, silence is the most powerful ground to begin with. Another dimension of silence as energy lies in its ability to connect you with the present moment. Noise often pulls you into the past or pushes you into the future. Silence anchors you here and now. In the present moment, your energy is whole, undivided, and fully available. When you live in past regrets or future worries, your energy leaks away. Silence brings you back, reminding you that the only moment you truly live is this one. By gathering your attention into the present, silence strengthens your energy field. You become centered, grounded, and alive. From this state, every action carries more power because it is infused with presence. Silence teaches that the present is not a small moment. It is the doorway to infinite energy. To live fully in silence is to live fully alive, with energy flowing unobstructed through body, mind, and spirit. Silence also protects your energy. In noise, your energy is constantly pulled and consumed by others. Every conversation, every distraction, every demand takes a portion of your attention. Over time, this leaves you depleted. Silence restores boundaries. It shields your energy from scattering outward and allows you to replenish inward. This protection is not selfish, it is necessary. Only when your energy is whole can you give authentically to others. Silence creates an invisible shield, reminding you that your inner world matters. By withdrawing into silence, you reclaim energy that would otherwise be wasted. This is why even a few minutes of silence can feel so powerful. It is a return to yourself. The spirit, when given silence, learns to conserve, to protect, and to shine with its own light. Noise drains, but silence restores. The wise know how to protect their energy through stillness. Silence also awakens a deeper dimension of energy, the spiritual. Beyond physical strength and mental clarity lies the energy of the soul, which can only be accessed in silence. In stillness, you begin to sense the presence of something greater than yourself. Call it spirit, consciousness, or life, force. It is the source from which all energy flows. Silence becomes the channel that opens you to this infinite reservoir. This is why people who embrace silence often radiate peace. They are connected to a source far beyond their individual strength. This energy is steady, limitless, and unshakable. When life tests you, it is this energy that carries you through. Noise blinds you to it, but silence reveals it. In silence, you do not just rest, you awaken. You realize that the greatest energy is not outside, but within, and silence is the key that unlocks it ultimately. Silence teaches that energy is not always about doing more, but about being more. In silence, you discover that stillness is not weakness, it is power. A single moment of true silence can restore more energy than hours of restless activity. This is the paradox in doing nothing, you regain everything. Silence reveals that energy is not scattered in 1,000 directions, but gathered in presence. It shows you that vitality does not come from noise or speed, but from alignment with your true self. To honor silence is to honor your energy. To live with silence is to live with strength. The world may be loud, but you have a choice to drown in noise or to rise in silence. Choose silence, and you choose renewal, clarity, and power. For silence is not empty. It is the well from which true energy flows. Self-companionship is the foundation of true freedom. Most people spend their lives seeking connection, validation, or approval from others, believing that happiness depends on external sources. Yet reliance on others for fulfillment leaves the spirit bound. The moment those external sources falter, the spirit feels trapped, anxious, or incomplete. Learning to enjoy your own company changes everything. When you sit with yourself without expectation, without judgment, you discover that peace does not come from people. It comes from presence. The mind, heart, and spirit begin to rest in their own awareness. This inner presence is freedom from dependency, freedom from fear, and freedom from the need to constantly perform or adapt. Self-companionship teaches you that the most reliable relationship you will ever have is with yourself, and that freedom is born not from others, but from knowing you can stand whole on your own. Being comfortable with your own company allows you to shed the illusions of social dependence. Many people fill their lives with chatter, social obligations, or distractions to avoid being alone with themselves. But in avoiding solitude, they remain disconnected from their essence. Self-companionship confronts this avoidance, offering a mirror for reflection. In quiet moments, you face your thoughts, desires, and emotions directly. You learn to hold your attention, soothe your mind, and nurture your heart without relying on anyone else. This practice creates strength, confidence, and stability. When you know how to be fully present for yourself, you no longer fear isolation or loneliness. The bonds you form with others become chosen, not necessary, and relationships are experienced as complements rather than dependencies. In self-companionship, your freedom grows because you are no longer tethered to anyone. For self-companionship also awakens authenticity. When your attention is constantly outward, shaped by the expectations and judgments of others, you gradually lose sight of who you truly are. In solitude, you rediscover your voice. You recognize your preferences, values, and dreams independent of what society or peers dictate. You learn to enjoy your hobbies, your silence, your thoughts, and your presence without needing approval. This authenticity is liberating. No longer do you act to please others or seek recognition. Your choices emerge from inner alignment. Freedom is the natural byproduct. When you are comfortable with yourself, you no longer need to conform, manipulate, or seek external validation to feel whole. Self-companionship strengthens your identity and clears the path for freedom, because when your spirit is at ease with itself, it is impossible to be imprisoned by the opinions or expectations of others. The practice of self-companionship also deepens emotional resilience. Life inevitably brings disappointment, rejection, and loss. If your emotional state depends solely on others, these experiences can feel devastating. But when you cultivate the ability to enjoy your own company, you develop an inner reservoir of support. You become your own source of comfort, encouragement, and love. In moments of hardship, your spirit has a steady foundation. You no longer collapse when external circumstances shift. This emotional independence is a form of freedom because it frees you from the chains of others' moods, reactions, or choices. Self-companionship teaches that your spirit does not need constant input to remain stable. In fact, it thrives when nurtured from within. With this inner stability, the world becomes less threatening, relationships become healthier, and you experience the liberation that comes from being emotionally self-sufficient. Self-companionship also heightens self-awareness. When you are alone with yourself, you notice patterns, habits, and choices that previously went unseen. You recognize what energizes you and what drains you. You become attuned to your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. This awareness allows you to act with intention rather than habit. It fosters freedom because choices are no longer automatic or reactive. They are deliberate. When you are attuned to yourself, you see clearly where your energy should be invested and where it should not. Relationships, work, and daily routines are approached with consciousness, not compulsion. Self-companionship opens a door to intentional living, and intentional living is freedom. The more you know yourself, the less you are influenced by circumstances, opinion, or pressure, and the more your actions reflect your true desires rather than external expectation. Time spent in your own company also nurtures creativity and self-expression. When your mind is free from constant social noise, it begins to explore, imagine, and innovate. Ideas flow more freely, and insights appear that are often blocked in distraction or dependency. Self-companionship allows you to cultivate your talents, dreams, and passions without fear of judgment. This process reinforces freedom because you no longer rely on validation to pursue your interests. You learn to trust your instincts and honor your creative impulses. The energy gained from this engagement nourishes the spirit and strengthens confidence. In solitude, you reclaim your power to create your life intentionally. By enjoying your own company, you are no longer confined by others' opinions or limitations, and freedom becomes not just an abstract ideal, but a lived experience, fully realized in your choices and self-expression. Self-companionship also liberates you from fear of rejection. When your sense of worth comes from within, the opinions of others lose their power to destabilize you. You no longer fear being alone, ignored, or left out, because you already experience fulfillment internally. This freedom transforms relationships. Instead of clinging out of fear, you engage from choice. Connection becomes a gift rather than a necessity, and you interact with others authentically rather than defensively. When you are your own companion, rejection is no longer a wound, but an opportunity for growth or realignment. This perspective shift is liberating. Freedom is not about being detached from others, it is about not allowing others to control your inner state. Self-companionship anchors you in independence while maintaining openness to connection. The spirit that enjoys its own company is free, confident, and resilient. Self-companionship strengthens the capacity to live in the present. When you are comfortable alone, you no longer seek constant distraction to avoid the moment. You learn to sit with the now, to appreciate simple experiences, and to find joy in your own awareness. Presence is energy, and energy is freedom. Being fully engaged in the moment allows the mind and spirit to flow naturally without tension or longing. Solitude cultivates this capacity for presence, teaching that fulfillment is not always in activity or interaction, but in simply being. Freedom arises because your happiness no longer depends on external events. It emerges naturally from your alignment with life itself. The more you practice self-companionship, the more you discover that living fully in the present is one of the greatest forms of liberation. Self-companionship also teaches discernment. When you are alone, you evaluate your choices, relationships, and commitments without pressure from others. You learn to distinguish what aligns with your values and what does not. This discernment protects your energy and strengthens your spirit. Freedom is born from this clarity. You are no longer swept away by popular opinion, social expectation, or fleeting desires. Instead, you navigate life with intentionality. The wisdom gained in solitude allows you to say no to what drains you and yes to what nourishes you. In this way, self-companionship becomes a shield and a compass. It teaches the balance of independence and openness, ensuring that your actions are guided by self-awareness rather than external influence. The freedom of choice is deepest when rooted in your own understanding. Ultimately, self-companionship is the doorway to complete liberation. When you enjoy your own company, you realize that you are enough as you are. You carry the love, wisdom, and strength you have been seeking externally within yourself. Freedom is not a distant goal. It is present in every moment of mindful, contented self-presence. You are no longer confined by dependency, fear, or the need to prove yourself to others. Instead, you stand whole, free, and empowered. Self-companionship is the quiet power that anchors you in your own existence, allowing you to navigate life with confidence, creativity, and joy. When you embrace your own presence fully, you discover that true freedom was never outside. It was always within, waiting for you to recognize and cherish it.